Hi, I'm Kiwi,
And I'm Jarad.
and we are the two gentlemen coming to you, never shaken, but always a little stirred. Jarad, how are you?
I always love those intros, man. I'm very good, very good. Uh, went for a walk yesterday and got rained on, and I was a bit sort of like, do I run or do I walk? I ended up walking slower. It was actually quite nice. I don't know. It was a warm day, humid day. It was nice to actually get rained on. I don't know. Maybe I'm going crazy in my old age, but I was getting in touch with the elements.
I
But
always
no,
think
it
it's
was
a
good.
nice feeling.
Yeah, it's always good going for a walk in the afternoon. Get rid of the afternoon. I don't know. Get a little bit lazy in the afternoon. It's nice to just keep the wheels turning a bit. You sleep better too.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. So sometimes, like you just sort of, yeah, especially if you have a bit of a dormant day, and I suppose it's we aren't. A lot of us are working from home, and you know the most you walk is to the bathroom or the fridge. So it's probably a good idea to try and do that. So I try and knock out a few Ks every now and then.
Yeah, right. Okay. I might do that because quite often in the afternoon, I feel like having a nap. Maybe a walk is
Yeah.
the better alternative.
Well, yeah, I'm trying to fight that feeling of wanting to have a sleep. I mean, if you've worked an overnight shift or something like that, it's different. But it was just a genuine afternoon. I don't know, afternoon blues or whatever. It's nice just to fight that, and just once you put your shoes on, you're okay. It's just a matter of just not sitting in front of the TV or vegging out. It's a nice little afternoon habit I'm getting into.
Right. Okay. Well, you've inspired me, Jarad. Next time I have that afternoon, sleepiness, the drowsiness, I'm going to put on my
Yeah.
shoes and see what happens.
See what happens. You never know. Even if you walk 500 meters, it's something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Get the blood pumping. But mate, I was thinking actually the other day, and I don't know, maybe I don't. It might have happened in our lifetime, but or maybe I can remember my parents and like talking about or going to, like helping strangers. So if somebody had broken down or needed something. I mean, back in those days, no mobile phone, so it was a matter of needed some money to make a phone call, or even I don't think it's ever happened to us, but knocked on the door and said, "Can I borrow your phone?" Like, I think that was kind of accepted a little bit, and well, it was, and that attitude's changed in our lifetime, I believe. It's something that I think is doesn't occur anymore. There's so many services out there that everyone's got a mobile phone, so they can ring when they break down, and they're sort of on their own. Yeah, but I suppose there's no being deserted anymore. You just make a phone call and the NRMA's there, or
Hmm.
or whatever. But what do you think? Do you think it's changed over time since we've been around?
It's definitely changed. The nature of being able to access services has changed. So, like you said, the mobile phone has changed a lot of things. Roadside assist is just a common thing, and I feel that everyone's got that. Well, most people that I know have some sort of cover.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I don't know if it's changed for the worse. I don't know if people are no longer helping each other. I think maybe we're just helping in different ways. I think the way people come together on the internet at times, for example, things like GoFundMe, where people
yeah.
do need some help, it seems like they're not afraid to reach out to others, especially strangers on the internet, and they can get some sort of assistance. So I don't know if our attitude to helping has changed, but definitely the nature of the way we help and ask for help has changed.
Good point. Actually, I always think like if someone's broken down on the side of the road, like what am I going to do? Like I'm going to lift the bonnet and scratch my head. Like other than offer someone, actually there was somebody broken was changing their tire a couple of doors down from my house the other day, and I thought it wasn't overly hot. It was in the morning. Excuse me. It wasn't overly hot. It was very comfortable. They were opposite a shop, like there was no issue there. But part of me was like, oh, should I offer the guy a tool or the kids a drink or something like that? But then you're like, oh, well, do I look weird now doing that? I don't know. What else can I offer? I can't help him. I mean, yeah, he's changing his tire. He's fit and able to do that. So yeah, it's a bit of a funny one. Like I actually, as the helper, don't want to inconvenience the person that seems to be in trouble.
And that's something that we can end up doing. We can end up
Yeah,
getting in the way. Now,
yeah.
just from that experience, did he seem like he knew what he was doing?
Oh yeah, yeah. He was, had the jack under there, and didn't need help at all. It would have been a, half an hour, 20-minute job, or half an hour job, or whatever it takes to change a tire.
Yeah.
But yeah, he didn't need help. He wasn't waving anyone down or whatever. Yeah. So leave it be, I guess.
Well, I think that says more about your kind nature, Jarad, that you see someone who is in a situation and your first instinct is, I want to help this person.
Oh, thank you. It's just, yeah. Oh, look, yeah, I don't want to sit here and go, it's just, yeah, sometimes you just sort of, you think, well, if I'm in a situation, it'd be nice to be helped if I needed it. And yeah, there's a bit of karma. You're not thinking, oh, karma, someone will help me, but it's just, I'd like it if my family was in need or I was in need, someone would put their hand up.
Yeah. In this particular circumstance, I think, like you said before, with a car, there isn't a lot you can do. You're not a mechanic. I don't know how mechanically minded you are, but I'd be exactly the same. I'd pop the hood and go, yeah, you're on your own, buddy. There's nothing I could do. And whenever I see anyone broken down the side of the road with their hazards and their bonnet popped, I just think, well, I'm sure they've called someone. I'm sure they've got access to a mobile phone and they've got more competent people than me that can help them. So yeah, as much as I'd like to help, I might be helping more to alleviate my guilt than to actually help them.
Yeah, I think going back to what you said. I mean, yeah, I think people are willing to help people, but it's in a different area now. Like it's not that all that stuff is there for people to be helped. Like you said, for the breakdowns and all that sort of thing. But when it comes to someone's going through hardship online and they need a bit of if they need food or money or whatever, people are willing to sort of do that from the comfort of their own keyboard, I guess, or phone.
Yeah. Can you think of any instances where you've had to help someone or not had to, but where you chose to go out and, for example, in that situation, but where it did actually happen, where you did help someone and what the result of that was?
Yeah. This was a while back, but I remember driving around for work and it was actually a blown tire. Somebody was driving, like I sort of crossed behind them and they were limping down the road and I'm like, oh, they got a blown tire, but they just kept driving for a block. And I'm like, that's not going to help. If once you do get that tire off, you're still going to damage your car. So I kind of waved them to the side and then I pulled up and I just said, look, just pull into that side street and I'll have a look, like I don't know what I was. Yeah, I knew it was a flat tire.
Yeah.
And then turns out it was a young girl who was going for a job interview and she was all dressed up and I was like, oh, that's not good timing. And she was stressing out. And I said, look, I'll change your tire for you. It's no big deal. So, I changed it half an hour out of my day and it made a difference for her day. And yeah, it was quite a hot day. And I remember I was sort of, sweating profusely because I was like doing, all this extra stuff the sun was bearing down. And the poor girl, she's standing there with an umbrella over me, like, oh, because she felt terrible that I'm doing this. But, it didn't even occur to me that, she would feel awkward. I just was like helping her out and afterwards she was like really thankful and, I hope she got the job. There on time.
I hope so too.
What about yourself? Have you got anything to share or have you had any experiences where someone's helped you along the way?
The first thing that comes to mind is actually a story of Erica's. There was a woman around here. She was looking for some address and she was from Japan. So I think she was actually a tourist. And Erica saw her. She was like running and she was sweating like crazy. And Erica was like, there's something wrong with this lady. So Erica pulled over and just asked if she was okay. And she just showed Erica this address. And it wasn't too far from where we live, but, it wasn't somewhere you could really walk. It was a long, right. Several Ks. And Erica's like, just jump in, I'll take you there. So Erica drove her there. And then she just asked for Erica's address somehow. I don't know how she asked for it, if she could speak a little bit of English.
Yeah.
But anyway, Erica just gave it to her and completely forgot. Months later, we get a package from Japan.
Wow.
And yeah, and it was some beautiful ceramics, maybe some cups or something, or some plates. And we just couldn't believe it. And it had her name. Her last name's Nakamura. That's all I remember. And
Mm.
she sent this as a thank you to Erica for helping her. And of course, Erica didn't do it with the thought, I wonder if she'll send me some Japanese ceramics one day.
Yeah, I really need some ceramics.
But I thought that was really nice that, it was quite an inconvenience for Erica, for a woman to be, sweating the way she was, to jump into your car. I can imagine people going, oh, I don't want to deal with that problem. That's not my problem. That's someone else's problem. But, Erica, that's just her heart. She's just wants to help others, and not out of her own ego or anything. It was just purely because people need help. So she's there for them. And I just thought that was lovely. And yeah, it was really nice that that Nakamura acknowledged that.
Well, it's nice to know that, there's the old kind encounters with strangers, it could still occur. Actually, it reminds me of a time I was I had a few too many beers one night, and I decided to walk home, and it was probably about a 10-kilometer walk. I don't know. And I was maybe 4 or 5 Ks in, and some person stopped. It was like 2 a.m. Some person stopped and drove me home, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I'm like, as I'm driven home, I'm like, I don't even know, is this dangerous? Like, so there's that to think of, and I got him to drop me like a kilometer from my house just in case. But he turned out to be a really nice guy, and he was just finishing a shift somewhere, and he's like, mate, I've been in this situation. Like, I mean, that's a risk for him too. I mean, look, I'm not small. Like, he took the gamble, I guess, and that's risky to help somebody or be helped by somebody that you don't know, because you actually don't know their intentions. Yeah.
And you could have been sick in his car as well.
Yeah, that's right.
In that situation.
Like, it was obvious because I was dressed to sort of go out, and I was probably stumbling home that I'd had a few. But yeah, he doesn't know. He doesn't know that I'm not an aggressive drunk or, like I said, sick, on the verge of being sick. And yeah. So he took the gamble, and I took the gamble by jumping in. So it's probably wouldn't do it again, but it sort of thinks you could kind of think how vulnerable you can be in those situations.
Jarad, that reminds me of something you said when we did our +1 episode with Rob. We were talking about ghosts, and we're talking about how, you could come across a bad spirit or something. And you said, look, most people in the world are good. And that statement always stayed with me, that I thought, wow, Jarad thinks most people in the world are good. That's quite an assumption.
Naive.
Well, I don't care. I really don't. I'd rather be naive and wrong and have that attitude than walk around suspecting everybody.
Yeah.
It really opens up a whole world when you just let people be, and you I suppose, expect the best of them. Quite often when you do expect the best of somebody, give them space, it brings out the best in them. And I think your attitude by, just walking around and looking at people and respecting them for who they are, and seeing that they're a person that has something to give, I think that really helps lift everybody.
I think it's, I'm not going to have a big comment on this one, but I think it's, putting good vibes out into the world, and, it's a form of trust that most people are, reasonable people. Everyone has their battles and challenges and things like that. But, realistically, we're all human beings, and we're all, here for a certain amount of time. And it's just, most people are good. That's the way I live my life.
Yeah. And that's a fantastic attitude. It's just so sad how, that tiny minority ruins it for the rest of us, especially for women. For a woman to get into a car with a stranger, whether it's a cab driver, a share ride driver, they're always vulnerable. Most women have been sexually assaulted in the workplace in some shape or form. They found it uncomfortable being at work. And
harassed,
yeah, and you can be in really vulnerable situations, and it's just sad that there's so many people out there that can't feel that they can be safe. That's all. In the same way that you can, you're a big guy. Like if anything had happened with that other guy, who gave you the lift home, well, I think you could have handled yourself. But whereas, for a woman, it's a bit different. So yeah, it is sad that we can't all live in this wonderful open world.
Yeah, and that's shoes that we'll never walk in. But I guess if we know and are aware of it, then we can be our best person to make sure that doesn't occur around us, and hopefully that that then filters through all the people we know and things like that. So that's the best we can do, I think.
Yeah, just establish a healthy culture of power, really, of understanding that, hey, certain people have more power than others, and we need to make sure that we share that.
Yeah. And I don't take for granted for the fact that, like that guy doing what he did, picking me up, that would have been probably nerve-wracking for him. Like, I understand how, it turns out how kind he was to do that, like that's, I don't even know if I would do that, to be honest. Like I remember driving early on in my days when I first got my license. And again, it was early in the morning and someone was waving us down in the middle of suburbia, and it was a female, and I sort of was about to stop, and as I sort of pulled in front of them, there was 3 guys hidden behind the car.
Oh, wow.
And I saw it in the revision mirror, and I just took off. Like I didn't stop. I didn't actually stop. And I'm like, this is kind of before I had, or maybe I just had a mobile phone, and like, what do I do? Like, do I call the police here? Like, and then I don't remember what I did with that one. I think the person I was with maybe called the police to let them know, but like maybe those guys were just sitting there. Like, I don't know, maybe I saw wrong. It was like a split-second decision, but my gut instinct was like, yeah, something's not cool here.
Yeah.
So there, that's a situation that, I was quite young, and I thought, I'll stop. You never know. Someone's frantically waving you down as you drive past them in suburbia. I mean, but yeah, it was 2 o'clock or 1 o'clock. I don't know. It was early in the morning. So, something's either occurred, or then you think, oh, was she in trouble with those guys? I don't know. I look back at something like that and I think, geez, I could have done that differently, or could have I? Like, what could have I done? You look back with a bit of like, what if that? What if this? But I suppose you just got to, without being cold, get on with your life.
Yeah, it makes you wonder how much personal risk can you take, really, when you're helping someone else, because it will come at a cost to you. For example, when you helped the young lady with her tire, that was at a personal cost. That was half an hour out of your day. You're covered in sweat. I don't know what you were doing at the time, but if you were going to work and you go to work covered in sweat for the rest of the day, and for example, if you had a professional role where you were customer facing and they're like, mate, what, take your job seriously, mate. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So there is a cost.
Yeah, it does come at a cost, and you got to weigh that up really as well. That's I suppose that I don't want that to come off as being selfish, but that's kind of, you have to think about that. You can't just willy-nilly go around and knocking on people's doors. Do you need anything? Do you need anything? Like, that's, you'd be put away in some sort of institution, I think.
Yeah. There's that expression, giving the shirt off your back. And it's very rare that you can do that, really. I mean, giving implies some sort of privilege to me. It means that I've got some sort of surplus, if it's changing someone's tire, I've got a surplus of time and knowledge that I know how to do that. But really, quite often, if you don't have a surplus, then you can't. And I think it's really important to acknowledge that as well, because you may not be in a position to give at this moment in time. You may be the person that really needs to receive, and that's totally okay. But like you said, Jarad, it's a karma thing. And, if you're banking those credits, well, you're going to have to use them too. Yeah.
There's also a point where you've got to have a line in the sand where you do stop, which a lot of people who are, let's say, volunteers or people who give and help people through hardship have trouble knowing when to actually pull the pin, and not but just stop for the day, for example, or stop. Some people that I've come across, like they'll work 24 hours, they have their phone going, and
Yeah.
to help someone, and what if that help, like that person might appreciate it and then it turns into expectation. That's a hard thing to navigate as well. I think, like if you're providing, argument's sake, if you're giving people, a place to stay, a room to stay in your granny flat or something, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, I'm just helping you out, and then all of a sudden they move in and it becomes more of a, and then it can lead to some uncomfortable situations when really you just actually want to help this person. Your intentions were good, and now that person may have mistaken your intentions for this, or may have taken advantage of it, or I'm sure that would occur throughout the world.
Yeah, it's almost like it becomes toxic, the situation.
There is a line. I guess I'm trying to say there is a line, like with everything, that if you cross it, then it becomes. But you've got to communicate that. You can't just sort of sit there and expect the person you're helping to go, oh, they're not going to bring me food today, and why aren't they bring me food? And they'll get angry. It has to be communicated. I guess that this is whatever it is.
Yeah, I think communication and knowing the time frame of what the help is really helps. There's got to be an expiration date, and there's got to be that expectation from both sides. Really, you have to understand that someone can't prop you up for life.
Yeah,
it's about helping you get back on your feet, not holding you up on your feet for the rest of your life.
And I suppose that moves it from helping a stranger. It might have been initially helping a stranger, but then that stranger becomes known to you, and then you've got this form of relationship, whether whatever it may be, expectations and things like that. We've sort of branched into a different realm there, I think.
Yeah. I just want to share a story about helping someone. And as you know, I'm into crypto, and I met a guy online. It was just a random chat group, like a subreddit. And a guy was just made a comment about, asking about ways to earn this particular currency. He was just saying, in my country, this is worth a lot. So if anyone can help me, that would be great. And all he was asking was basically technical tips on how to do this better. And so he wasn't asking for any money or anything like that. And I just thought, you know what? I'm a very privileged person. Now, I'm not rich, as you know. I live in a 2-bedroom unit. I don't have much at all in my life. My shoes came out of the garbage, but I've got more than this guy. And I just asked him, what's your address? As in, to send him a tiny bit of money. And he just assumed I was a scammer. Yeah. And he was like, oh, sorry, is this a scam? And I said, look, just check my post history. You can see what kind of person I am. And I wasn't insulted at all. I think it's really great that he would do his due diligence. And, we struck up a bit of a friendship, and I just send him a couple of dollars every now and then. And, to me, if you bought a coffee, it's like $3.50 or $4 or whatever. Whereas for him, that's worth a lot. Yeah. So, we started up this sort of friendship, and it's been really nice because he's a young guy, early 20s, and he shares stuff in his life with me, which is really nice. Yeah. Like he'll say, hey, I just graduated from university, or, I'm going out here to Goa for, to celebrate New Year's, that sort of thing. And it's just really nice. So, I just want to share with the audience that, you can strike up random friendships too. And again, this guy's never asked for anything from me. It's always been me. If I've bought something and I'm like, oh yeah, I might send him, a little share of it, and it's like seriously a few dollars worth for us. But if it ever goes really well, that's going to be worth a lot for him in the future. So I'd love for him to get some sort of success somewhere down the line.
I mean, that's a very, like you said, it's not much for you, but it's the thought behind it, I think, is the noble part. Like that's really nice, and it's, how good is it that, strangers become friends, you would never really have known this guy existed. We wouldn't have known this guy existed without making that first move of helping someone or giving him a leg up or whatever it might be, And like I said, for you, it's a cup of coffee or, a meal at the Macca's or something, Exactly. It's nothing. Like we throw this stuff away on a daily basis.
I sure do. Yeah, I waste so much money on silly things.
I'll buy a coffee sometimes and then forget to drink it, and then it's like, oh, freaking down. I throw 3/4 of it away, and it's like $5 down the drain, you know.
Yep.
And you think, well, that money can be used somewhere with a lot more intention, or a lot more, you know, can do a lot more benefit to somebody.
Do you remember when we were kids, Jarad, and the big global crisis at the time was malnutrition and starvation and famine in Ethiopia? And at the time, it was always, if you don't eat, a kid in Ethiopia could have had that meal. So, you've got to finish every last grain of rice. And
yes,
well, actually today we can send, proverbially speaking, we can send our grains of rice to poor people. And that's kind of what I'm doing here by, sharing a couple of bucks every now and then with this guy.
Yep. And I remember those ads, and I remember all that. And, and by the end of it, you were like, well, the food will go off by the time I send this, like you sort of made a bit of it. But I guess that was the thought of like, well, they can't use this particular piece of food that I'm eating. So, so like you've made that call and say, well, we can actually send send rice, or send, send actual stuff that they can use, or, Bitcoin or money or something, some sort of currency that they can use, which, that's another thing. Like, it just reminds me of, I won't get too far into it, but, a friend of mine had some issues, and bushfires went through and lost everything. And part of me, and I'll just touch on it, part of me wanted to give him everything that I owned. Like, the poor guy has just been through, him and his family were all safe, but, everything they ever owned is gone. Right? And I wanted to send him, but and then I finally got hold, because there was a lot of people wanting to help him. A lot of people, again, GoFundMe was set up and all this sort of stuff. And, he was so thankful, almost embarrassed, but thankful. And then, but then I'm like, oh, mate, you need anything? What can I give you? And he's like, mate, I can't use it. I've got nowhere to put it. Like, you can give me a fridge, but I don't know where to plug it in. And I'm like, oh man, like that really hit home. Like I wanted to help. I wanted to, in a way that, oh, come on, mate, I've got heaps of clothes here, like, we can, but it was just like, oh, all he needs was literally there was stuff that I could give, but he didn't need it, and I suppose that's another form that you would run into when you're trying to help somebody. You want to give them something that you think is useful, but for them, they're like, I'm so thankful, but I can't take it. Like, I don't know where to put it.
Yeah. It's a practical limit to how you can help somebody. Yeah.
So it's as a helper, or as someone giving help, you've got to look at the situation you're helping. I guess, and sending this guy furniture, it wouldn't be the right way to do things, but helping him find a place where he can rent, or or whatever, might be, or something like that, or put him in touch with somebody that does rentals in the area, that sort of thing. So
I've never been through anything like that myself, but I imagine cash is king at that point, and really just to have that flexibility where you can, for example, to have that money to pay the bond for the rent, or to pay, a month's rent while you're getting back on your feet would be really helpful, to buy the clothes for the kids, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think that was, when it come down to it, it was like, in this situation, it was cash. It was cash. It was what people were willing to donate, which, they would have had money behind them, but no one expects to have to pay, for a full, just to set your life up back to the bare minimum. Still cost money. Like you said, the bond and the month's rent and the, just the bare basic minimum clothes. Like you're dropping a few $1,000s just in that.
Yeah, and just not being able to work as well, because I'm sure that he had a lot to do away from work, with his family to set them up. He'd obviously have to miss out on a lot of work. So I think in that situation, cash probably was best, but I've never been in that situation myself.
So there's all these different ways to help people, isn't there? And I guess as we've got to read the room with that, and not go overboard with something that probably they don't need, or make sure you do your research on what they might require.
Well, speaking of that, when somebody has a baby, quite often they get all sorts of paraphernalia from friends, don't they? Whether it's a rattle or whatever, several books, so many things that the person won't use. And I'm not criticizing anyone here. We all have great intentions. We all want to buy cute things in the gender correct color.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
something I've given a few friends is $100. And that was
yeah,
only a couple of friends, just because they were on a similar income to me, and whereas other friends, they've got partners who made a lot more money, so I didn't need to chip in that
yeah,
much. But and when I gave it to them, I said, look, this is for a couple of takeaway meals. That's what it was
yeah, yeah.
for. Because you and I know when you have a new baby, it's your self-care goes down the drain.
You kind of
So
forget those little, yeah,
yeah, so it's just like, look, if you guys need a date night or something, not like they come anytime too soon, but if you just need a night where you don't have to cook or anything like that, here's some money for you. That's all it was for.
I do the newborn. My go-to is a couple of boxes of newborn nappies because I know they'll just get used.
Yep.
And I don't go clothes or anything like that. Like I'm like, if you want clothes, you're either going to get people to hand me down. Like we've got boxes of stuff to hand me down to the next, generation of babies that come through.
Exactly.
And yeah, I'll just go nappies. And actually, one of the best gifts I got is similar to your $100, but it was a box of meals got delivered, frozen meals. So they
That's
ordered
amazing.
a week's worth of meals. So essentially, from the time, hospital and, all that sort of stuff, they know that you're running as a father running around, trying to do as much as you can. And you kind of forget that sort of stuff. And when the baby gets home, you've still got some meals there for, when the baby's asleep, you can quickly throw something in the microwave and I thought that was a really thoughtful gift to receive.
Yeah, that's great and practical. On that note, I just want to give a shout out to one of my friends who had a baby about a year and a half ago, close to that, and another of our colleagues had a baby as well. And now the first one is offering to cook the other one meals, and whenever they see each other, she's like, "Oh, can I cook you dinner? Can I bring you something?" So she totally understands, and she's helping in a practical way. And so far, all offers of help have been refused, but it really is the thought that counts, and she genuinely means it. So good on her, and good on both of them.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. I've got a nice little story helping strangers, actually, just one real quick one. It only happened yesterday. My eldest daughter comes out of, we put them in a bit of care, like just during the school holidays, they get one or 2 days a week where, they can go and hang out with other kids and stuff. And the teacher came out, or the carer came out, and my eldest had like a little something, like it was a squishy ball or something, I don't know. And she said, "Oh, tell your dad how you got it." And she's like, "Oh, I helped Lulu or someone." And I said, "Oh, okay, that's nice. What did you?" "Oh, she was upset and I helped her." And I'm like, "Oh, wow, that's such a nice thing to hear from, like, unprompted, that she didn't do it for the little squishy ball, but she got rewarded, I guess."
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really nice to hear that a little girl who's a year below her in school was having a tough time or fell over or something, and all my one wanted to do was dote on her. So yeah, it was pretty nice to hear yesterday afternoon. So I know she's not a stranger to her, but it's nice to know that the kindness is there.
That's lovely, Jarad. And you actually have said before about your eldest how kind she is. So it's really nice to see that continuing.
It is, and it's just nice to hear it, actually. Like, I didn't see it, but it's really nice to hear the fact that she did it without even, like, me going, "Oh, go and help." Like, not that I do that, but it's, like, when you're there, you sort of say, "Oh, I hope she's okay." And you sort of prompt it without even knowing. But that was all in her mind to help her. So it's nice. It was nice to hear.
Yeah, that's lovely. Look, I know we're almost out of time. I need to talk about a few stories. My eldest son, who's into garbage trucks and waste management in general, as I've talked about before, has received so much kindness from strangers. And I really need to share this because people have been so good to him. He's a lovely kid, but people don't have to help. That's the thing with helping. You don't have to do it. It's completely voluntary. And since he was very little, he's been treated so well by, whether it's Garbos themselves, who allow him to film, who've taken him in the truck and given him a free ride, who let him operate the hopper at the back, whether they well, there was one guy, we just showed up at the depot and he was like, oh, yeah, can I help you? And we're like, oh, yeah, look, my son's really into this. And he's like, oh, yeah, no worries. And he gave us, a vest and a hat and he's given us a tour of the whole place. There was a woman who ran the Australian Waste and Recycling Expo back in 2011 when my son was just 2. And she said that, well, look, kids can't come because that's just the rules. And then we said, oh, look, he's really into it. And then she writes back and says, okay, he can come, but he can't be on the floor at any point. So you have to carry him around the whole time, which we did. And years later, we met one of the guys who worked at Sulo, the bin company up on the Central Coast. We just dropped into their depot, their factory, actually. And, we talked about, there was a break dancer at that expo, and he was so impressed that we knew that because he was the one that organized that.
Oh, right, there you go.
So it was really cool. My son's got all these connections already. And just one final story. My son does a lot of council pickups, as you know, and we're going around a very rich suburb in Sydney. And this guy saw us on the street and just asked what we were doing. And I just said, oh, look, my son collects scrap metal and then he sells it. And the guy walked off. And then we come back down the street because we've done that whole street. And the guy comes back, gives my son $10 and says, this is for all your hard work. And he pointed at a house that's overlooking Middle Harbour. He goes, see that house there? That's my house. And he goes, when I was young, I was like you. I used to mow lawns. I used to paint houses. And now that's where I live. And he goes, keep it up. And I was like, this is, I thought people would look down on us and just see us, these two scrappers going around going, oh God, these scabs going around our neighborhood. But he was like, nope. And that's the thing. People also, I know we're talking about helping, people also want to help those who help themselves. That's the thing. So when you see someone putting in, something out into the world, doing good things, you want to just join in on that journey. You want to get them going. And people cheer for my son. And I love that.
Yeah. No, it's right. It's like you said, you put good things out, people will grab onto it and, hope and I mean, not hope, but people grab onto it and want to join in and want to watch how it all unfolds.
Jarad, thank you so much. It's so nice to be friends with someone who wants to help others and has such a kind heart. And to all our listeners out there, I'm sure you're all kind-hearted people too. Don't be afraid, be vulnerable, put yourself out there, offer help, ask for help if you need it. And if you're fortunate enough, like us, to have some sort of surplus, please share it with others.
Yep, definitely agree. And don't be scared to help, as Kiwi said, and don't be scared to ask for help if you need it.
Thanks, Jarad.
Thanks, mate. Bye.